What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all are healthy and well. Today we'll be reacting to what leverage does Canada have in tariff trade talks. Now, I'm guessing tariff trade talks with the United States of America, of course, Canada has a lot of leverage over us. Yes, they have a lot over us. Literally, a lot that they could take away from us, that they could hold over our heads, but choose not to. Mark Carney is a very mature man, should I say. He definitely doesn't let his ego get in the way because there's so many things that Canada could literally shut down right now that the US could no longer have access to, that it will literally destroy our economy. Literally, you know, Canada has so many things. They have advantage, should I say, over so many things, so much materials and goods, electricity, everything that the United States can benefit from that we actually use from Canada on a daily basis. Things that keep our economy, our major cities running, businesses operating, our, should I say, supermarkets open. It's really a lot to it that we really don't think about. Um, Even as such as like oil coming to our gas stations. If certain things were to get cut off, we would be screwed as an economy. We would really struggle and realize the things that we were blessed with on a daily basis are now taken away. We are stripped from it for life, for good. And what would that do for us? That would limit us to basically have to go to other country, create a deal, maybe settle and show our weaker side. That way we could get some oil or get, whatever we can from that one country and then go to another country and branch off. And it wouldn't be good for us. Considering how close Canada is too, by the way. They are next door neighbors, man. We get it so easily. We get it so easily. And it's what every other country has always wanted their whole life. And they're finally getting a piece, a little taste of it now. And the US is literally losing a little bit by little bit every single day. Now, will we fully miss out, or should I say lose, all of Canada's beneficial things? No. I just don't think so, considering that Mark Carney and your government aren't selfish people. You guys like to include yourselves within the public. So therefore, you wouldn't try to harm the people of the public in the US, because you wouldn't try to do that. You wouldn't want anybody, trying to do that, should I say, to the people within the public of your country. Nor would you do that to the people within the public of your country, because you, like literally, Mark Carney and the government are people within the public of the country. They don't exclude themselves because they are higher ups. They are representing him, or he is, the PM himself, or the government represents. No, everyone is human, and has to face the same things. So I really like how wise and intellectual he is, because I've watched a video previously and it was basically explaining how Mark Carney, if he really wanted to, would just less than a push of a button. Now, it's all it takes is just, okay, end that. And we could seriously be cut off for life from all the things that Canada has to offer, the things that the USA looks forward towards on a daily basis. We've been receiving it our whole lives throughout history. So we won't truly know what it's like to have all this gone until it happens. And oh boy, I don't want to see that happen. I really don't, I really don't want to see that happen. But I don't think it will, Mark Carney is a very fair man. Very fair.
Canada-U.S. trade talks are expected. Canada-U.S. trade talks are expected to heat up in the next couple of months ahead of the mandatory CUSMA review. And while President Donald Trump has repeatedly said that the U.S. doesn't need Canada, some experts disagree. The CBC's Mike Crawley is working on the story for us and joins us from Washington. Mike, I read your piece that's online with much interest, so let's talk a little bit about it. What kind of leverage does Canada have going into these talks?
Yeah, Andrew, I've been looking at this question for a few weeks now, actually, because I kept hearing and reading about how much power the U.S. has in this relationship, how hard it's going to be, for Canada to make any progress in getting tariffs lifted or get the kind of a trade deal that's actually going to be good for Canada. This is all because supposedly the U.S. has so much more leverage than Canada does in this relationship, because our economy is far more dependent on the U.S. On exports to the U.S. than the U.S. economy is dependent on exports to Canada. But I got talking to...
Right, but it's deeper than the exports. I feel like it's deeper. Other than that, Canada has a lot to provide. And other than the exports we provide, you know what else they're going to throw right behind it? Military support. We don't, I mean, the U.S. has a lot to give, but at the same time, I feel like Canada is just as equal. Yeah.
Quite a number of people who have some insight into how trade negotiations work. And, there's a pretty broad consensus among them that actually Canada has quite a few points of leverage in these talks if Ottawa chooses to use them. One of the people that I spoke with is Brian Clow. He was in charge of the whole Canada-U.S. relations file for then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So that makes him one of only really a handful of people in Canada who've actually been in the room negotiating with folks from the Trump administration. And he told me that, from what he's observed over the years, that when the president or his officials react the most negatively to something that Canada does, when they're the most aggressive in their rhetoric, that is a tell. That is an indication that this is an issue that really matters to them, and that's when Canada has leverage. The most recent example that he pointed to on this, the agreement that Prime Minister Mark Carney struck with Beijing to reduce tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles in exchange for a reduction in tariffs on Canadian canola products. Take a listen to this.
What it ultimately says to the Americans is, if you keep treating us badly, if you keep slapping tariffs on our key sectors like steel, aluminum, cars, lumber, if you refuse to renew the CUSMA deal, you're going to push Canada into the arms of countries you don't like. And that's where the leverage and power comes from.
So in essence here, Andrew, the idea is
So you're going to push Canada into the arms of other countries that the United States doesn't like, basically. So basically like a selfish, jealous thing. Well, why are you doing business with them? You're supposed to be doing it with us. Well, because the U.S. don't like that country that Canada doing business with. So that's going to really hurt the U.S. now. Because Canada don't got no issues with them. Just being respectful allies with the U.S. But now, since that's out the way, Canada is branching out.
So in essence here, Andrew, the idea is that EV deal with China creates kind of a bargaining chip, right? The same goes for access to critical minerals that Canada has and that the U.S. really, really wants. There's also the huge amount of foreign investment, mostly from Canadian pension funds, down here in the U.S. It's upwards of $1 trillion Canadian dollars in assets that Canadian funds have invested in the U.S. And those are just a few of the points of leverage from the list that I compiled.
Wow, $1 trillion. That's about half the size of the overall Canadian economy, just to give perspective of how much money that is. Energy prices, the GDP, energy prices are top of mind these days, especially because of the war in the Middle East right now. So how might Canada's energy markets play a role in future trade with the U.S.?
Yeah, no, clearly when it comes to leverage, it's crude oil is the biggie here. The U.S. imports more crude oil from Canada than it does from all other countries in the world combined, right? So I'm told that Canadian negotiators are basically trying to see what is a way that they can, leverage that resource, given all the uncertainty that we've got right now around rising prices, around U.S. access to oil from around the world, and if so, what would the U.S. concede in return? So it's one part here, Andrew, of how the timing of these talks could be somewhat advantageous to Canada, right? You've got the rising cost of living as a major political issue down here in the U.S. You've got more and more Americans coming to the realization that tariffs drive up the cost of living for them. And as the midterm elections get closer, and you've got more and more Republicans in Congress sort of worried about whether they're going to be able to retain their seats or whether they're going to be able to retain control of Congress, that might just give Canadians a little bit more leverage in negotiating some kind of a deal that works. So
just to follow your thought, Mike, just as a final point on this, we heard from the U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer sort of saying talks with Mexico are moving along nicely. They're not moving along as quickly as with with Canada, sort of implying that we're difficult. But that actually could be a sign, could be a good sign. It sounds counterintuitive, but that seems to be the implication that, for instance, the former staffer you were speaking to says.
Yeah, the expression "keeping your powder dry." There's been some indication that the Canadians have been unwilling to move forward and do some of the things that the Americans have wanted over recent months. Critical minerals is one example. So last month there was it kind of a bit flew under the radar. There was a meeting that the State Department and Jameson Greer was involved in this as well, had with a bunch of countries from all over the world about critical minerals, and there were agreements signed with the EU and with Japan and with Mexico, but Canada didn't sign on. And people were asking me, I had some contacts in Canada saying, how come Canada wasn't in on this? And the message that we got from the government was, without saying it directly, they wanted to hold off and basically wait until trade talks were going on. So if they're going to strike any sort of a deal on critical minerals, then that's going to have to come with some sort of a concession from the U.S. What are you going to give us in exchange for that?
Interesting. Mike, good to talk to you. Thank you. The CBC's Mike Crawley, live in Washington.
This was an amazing video. Please share your honest thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section, man. And the U.S. truly needs a lot of things from Canada, but specifically we're talking about crude oil. Crude oil runs it all. NASA doesn't work without that crude oil. We as people cannot drive without that crude oil. The military itself cannot use any of those vehicles without crude oil. Let me tell you something. That's probably the only reason the government sees, like the only issue the government sees. They're not thinking about us. They think about the military. They need the oil for the military, because if other countries find out, hey, they can't get their stuff up in the sky, man. They can't drive their vehicles around. They have a shortage right now of oil. What we gonna do about that? You don't know what other countries have planned. What if that's their time to, like, you know what? Let's wipe out their base. Like, you never know. You never know, because something as like crazy as that. Yet again, I don't think other countries would do that, because Canada would be the main purpose as to why we don't have any more crude oil. So I don't think the other countries would like take advantage and be like, well, let's go invade the U.S., even though that's not how it really works. But let's go try to take advantage of the U.S., knowing that they've been, stripped of such things. Because your allies, Canada, and they're the, that was their effect on the U.S. for what they have done, towards their relationship. Not for any other country to jump in there and take advantage, because of what was taken away by Canada. I don't know if Canada would truly agree with that, because those are their new ally partners. I feel like Canada will probably like, wait a minute, y'all need to relax, But yet again, I don't know. Canada is not to protect us. We are vulnerable at this point, very vulnerable. And this is like proof that it's more than just the military. The military is not what keeps the economy running. It's what keeps the economy safe in times of need. But these materials, these resources, this oil, these travelers, a whole bunch of things that add up. You can't possibly say it doesn't add up to the benefits the U.S. can honestly provide to Canada. Who are you to say that what Canada provides to the U.S. doesn't add up to make this an equal trade and beneficial relationship? I feel like if we are both helping each other, stabilize our economy, then I don't see the issue. That's a fair enough trade, isn't it? But now our economy is literally going downhill. It's on a dramatic decrease. Literally, dramatic decrease is what it said. So what are we supposed to do about that? Gas prices about to go up. Prices in the supermarkets going up. Clothes, everything going up. Everything. Housing, rent, taxes. Because of tariffs. Now, that old-fashioned way that Trump likes, it doesn't work for us. And I don't know, because you guys are dirty rich, that you don't see the changes. You know, only the rich possibly. They don't see the changes. But it's like us people, us moderate people, we definitely notice the prices in the stores. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't care if it's a couple cents, like 20 cents more. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It wasn't that price before, you know? And I'm noticing the changes within a lot of things. And it's annoying because it's only going to grow higher the longer this continues. The more this worsens, it's only going to get worse for us. And it's like, why are we being punished now? It's to the point, like, if you really got beef with Canada and stuff, I don't see no Canadians being punished. They have nothing but, better things happening towards their country now. Their country truly can see, a prosper throughout these years. While we just fall downhill. And it's like the people within the country are literally experiencing it. So who are we really in battle with? Who is the U.S. government? Who do they really think they're affecting? You're not affecting nobody but the people within your country. I don't get it. And the whole tariff thing is not really the best idea because they just did nothing but slap tariffs back onto us. Okay, you go put a 25% tariff on us. Let's put a 25% tariff on the U.S. So, like, where are you getting your power from? We could do the same thing you could do. There's levels to this. You know what I'm saying? Stay safe, everyone. Please share your honest thoughts and opinions down below in the comment section. Please keep me up to date. We always keep each other posted. We all stay up to date and we keep up with these events. Seriously, it's good to keep up with this stuff going on because there's always a lot happening. And we all know how something could drastically change overnight. Oh, feel free to follow my Twitch and subscribe to all my other YouTube channels. Let me know in the comments. Did you guys enjoy this reaction? Did you enjoy this topic? Flood my comment section with some more of these amazing topics for us to, react to, dive into, educate ourselves on. And I hope to catch you all in the next reaction video. Stay safe, my peoples. Educate me in the comments. Should I say educate us? Because there's a lot of people around the world who are staying up to date as well and who are currently trying to learn more. They may not be as educated as us. And that's completely okay. This whole politic thing is crazy. I understand it's a lot to keep up on, and I understand. But please, let's try to share some things in the comments that can educate all the other fabulous, viewers around the world visiting the channel. That can help them out in the comments, understand what's going on a little bit, and what this means towards the future. Seriously, what does this mean towards the future? Because it's bigger than just the U.S.-Canada relationship, because the U.S. has so many issues with all the other countries. And all the countries we having issues with now that were our allies before too, Canada is literally doing doing business with them, trades. They are settling on certain agreements. Since you can't settle and have, agree to all the same things within the U.S. and Canada relationship, Canada's going to branch out and create new relationships with, okay, what can India agree with us on? What can China agree with us on? What can Australia agree with us on? Should I keep going? Just agreeing on little things. That way it all works out. You got to make up for that loss of the U.S. because it wasn't a growing relationship. It wasn't a growing relationship, just toxic back and forth. It would never be a equal as to, okay, how can we both, equally make these decisions and benefit from each other? Rather, the U.S. is trying to always push over and get over and take advantage and manipulate. And even when it was done in Canada's face, nobody really said anything or pulled back right away. Because there was numerous signs, in the past. Even Mark Carney has said it. Certain phone calls and meetings and like world events like that Canada was not invited to, that Canada was not even involved in or mentioned upon. Because it was like, okay, is the U.S. keeping secrets now? They don't want us involved? And like he said, well, if we're not at the table with them, then we're definitely on their dinner plate. And what's done in the dark comes to the light. And it's not doing well for us. This is exactly what... This is karma. This is karma. And I called this since the beginning, did I not? Just not the best decisions, man. And this is what can happen in a year. This has been the longest year of my life. I felt like we've been, going through this for decades now. It was just a year. All of that in just a year. Can we at least make the next year better? Is there any way of reviving that relationship with Canada? A lot of people say no, it's impossible. Get somebody new in office and maybe we'll think about it. Like, wow. It even took a toll onto the next people we could possibly have in office as our new presidents. They got a lot of work to do. Yup. They're up against a tough nation. Seriously. Stay safe, everyone. I love you all, and I hope to catch you all in the next reaction video.